Well, I'm here to tell you that I believe in magic, and I believe what I do is magic. And I believe if you love and are excited about what you do, then you have magic in your life too. My magic isn't pulling the rabbit out of the hat kind of magic. My magic is the kind that comes from transforming everyday baking ingredients, flour, butter, eggs, and sugar, and turning them into something special, something beyond your imagination. Now, what is my magic? My magic is the alchemy of turning a bowl of cake batter into a light, fluffy, delicious cake. It's combining different flavors and creating a mouth-watering dessert. It's working with a client and creating an idea together and making that idea a three-dimensional piece of art. And it is assuring that that one-of-a-kind, edible, ephemeral, perishable piece of art makes it in one place to its place of honor. It is taking what I love to do and making that my profession, creating special cakes for the special moments in people's lives. And ultimately, I think that cake touches the child in almost all of us, that part of us that still perceives and sees and experiences magic in the world. Now, my journey in life began early with baking with my mom. And as a little girl, I realized that I loved the baked goodies, and I wanted to learn how to do that myself. I wanted to create those kinds of things. And at that time, I realized that food is love. And if food is love, then sweets are the happy part of love. Sweets are cakes are for those celebrations in life, those happy times. So I remember when I was about 10 years old, I belonged to a Girl Scout troop, and we decided we needed to have a bake sale so that we could raise some funds for a trip. My contribution was going to be a cake. And so my dad had taken me with my cake to the bake sale early in the morning. Now, the girls and I set up the table, and we waited for our first customer, when around the corner appeared my dad. He had been, after he dropped me off, he had gone back, sat in the car, and waited for us to get ready to receive our customers. He plunked down his money, and he took my cake. As far as he was concerned, this cake wasn't meant to go to any other family except our family. Now, I quickly became the cake baker in our family for all our celebrations. And when my sister became engaged to be married, who was going to make her wedding cake? Why, me, of course. So there I was at age 19, making my first multi-tiered wedding cake. And how did it come out? Well, it looked pretty good, but it tasted great. And most importantly, I had had a blast making it. And that was everything to me. I learned from my dad that if you love what you do in life, then you will have a lot more satisfaction with life. And when it came time for me to figure out what that would be, I realized if I took my love of baking and combined it with my love of art while being my own boss, that made all kinds of sense. I wanted my own business, but I wanted a business where the product came first and the money came second. I didn't want a cake factory. I wanted a cake boutique. I wanted to create special cakes. I didn't want a cake empire. I wanted to keep it small, keep it personal, and connect with each client. To feel the magic, I need to feel proud of every cake that is going out my door, to know that I connected with my customer and that I delivered my very, very best. And add to that the knowledge that perhaps someone out there who thinks they don't like cake, and there are a few of you out there, in trying our cake goes from being a cake denier to a cake lover. Well, that makes the cherry on top of what I do. You might think that I'm doing this all by myself. Or, since I've been talking about magic, that I have a big tree behind my shop where there are a bunch of Keebler elves who are baking away, creating all our cakes. But that's not the case. In order to be successful and create these beautiful cakes, you need to have a team who feels the same way that I do. They need to feel that love for the cake. And when you have that team and they give you the kind of support that comes from loving the product like I do, well then you will be creating magic in your shop too. I learned pretty early in the course of my career how important it was to listen to the customer who's sitting opposite me. They are there to talk about cake, but I want to hear more of who they are. I want to understand them. I want to know what their vision of their event is. I want to understand their aesthetic. I want to hear and find out their story. And so I'd like to share one of those stories with you. A mom recently came to see me. She wanted to talk about me providing and creating a cake for her son's bar mitzvah that he would never forget. Now, this was to be her special gift to him. This was to show her love for him and her special understanding of what is important to him. Now, what was important to Jacob? Jacob loves cake. He watches all the cake shows. He is fascinated by cake, and he gets it. He understands the magic of cake. And so his mom and I sat there and talked about this, and we realized in order to have a successful cake for Jacob, we needed to do something that would blow his mind. And so I worked on it, and I drew a sketch, and I sent her the sketch for approval. She saw it, she loved it, and she said, "It's perfect." So we were a go. Now, basically, from that time until the beginning of the week of the event, there's not a whole lot to do. Once that week arrives, though, we get to work. And so my staff and I jumped in and started working on all the elements of that cake. And finally, the day of the event arrived. We were ready to go. The cake looked great, and it was ready to load up. Now, that cake was really tall, very heavy, and top heavy. And so our concern and worry was that instead of arriving vertically, it would arrive horizontally. We had done everything that we could to prevent this from happening, but if one of my staff, in taking a turn a little too enthusiastically, made that fall over, well, that was going to be the end of this story. But this is where this story does take an interesting turn. The cake arrived safely. A little bit of an anticlimax there. We offloaded the cake, put it on the cart, and brought it into the building. Now, Jacob was over in the corner with his family as the party was all being set up, and when he realized that his cake was arriving, he was so excited to come see it. He came running over, stood in front of the cake, and immediately fell to the ground. So the cake didn't fall, but my bar mitzvah boy fell. Now, he was fine, but he was so dumbfounded and pleased and excited that he just lost his footing. We had done our job. And when we were leaving, his mother said to us, "You have made my son a very, very happy young man. You have made his dreams come true." Now, I'd like to share with you a video of Jacob's cake journey. There? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I didn't get a picture of Jacob on the floor, but there's the cake in all its glory. Now, I've been focusing on pretty much all the cool, fun stuff, but what I really haven't talked about is the stress of creating these cakes and getting them to their destination in one piece. Now, you probably understand that in order to do these cakes, you have to be a baker and you have to be an artist. But what you might not realize is that you also need to be a decorator, designer, architect, construction worker, engineer, and even weightlifter. And if you employ all these different areas of expertise, that is what you need to not only have a delicious and beautiful cake, but to assure that you have a structurally sound cake and a cake that will arrive to its destination in one piece. Now, in the end, cakes are not life and death, although it feels different to us. But they are, as I mentioned before, flour, butter, sugar, and eggs. And that means that if disaster strikes, then we are able to almost all the time fix them. And so we try to fix them in time, and that usually happens as well. And once fixed, it is time to get on with the celebration. And so one thing I'd like to share with you as you all go through your life's journey. My odyssey with cakes has been special because it was something I was meant to do, something I love to do. And that magic comes through what I do. And so if you find something that you love to do and you give it your all in achieving your dream, then your life will be a magical journey too. Thank you.